vouchers and approve the payroll docket. And so motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of accounts payable and payroll dockets.
All those in favor signify by aye. Matt
Malinowski, yes.
Malinowski. Okay, say it like it's that. All right.
Thank you for nodding off there for a moment. I appreciate your expediency, and I'll try to keep it quick. Yes, Charles Malinowski with Malinowski Consulting, and that's actually why we're Malicon these days. So make it a little bit easier on everybody. This evening, I have a proposed agreement for consulting services on fuel tax refund claiming. Primarily, it's going to be with the highway department. There could be some other opportunities in the county, but that's where it's going. If it doesn't work there, you're not any way you approach this, you're not going to make money out of that, the refund coming back. So I want to give you an overview of that program, how it works, and talk about our agreement. And number one point about the agreement, it's contingent, so we don't get paid unless you get paid, or actually, we don't get paid until after you get paid. So if there is such a thing as guaranteed, we try to think of it that way. Our discussions between Malcon and the county started, I think, back in the spring. We had an AIC district meeting right down the road here, and doing my evil sales call, I had my targets.
People come to you.
Well, that's what you have to be afraid of when you go to a conference. So I did approach Commissioner and Bobby about this particular program. All states, in particular Indiana Department of Revenue, allows for the refund of fuel tax, excise fuel tax, from your operations, whether it's the county, the city, you could be a farmer, it doesn't matter. What matters is how you use the fuel, and if the fuel is being used to wear out the road, you have to pay your tax, no matter who you are. But if it's not being used to wear out the road, or it's a special instance like buses, public transportation, the state wants you to ride the bus, leave your car at home, and your community bus service, I'm not sure what it is down here, Council on Aging, so the little buses, rural transit program, they provide, they want you in that, and they're going to refund all that fuel tax, whether it's diesel or gasoline. So, in the case of Jefferson County, the way the program is going to best work for you is through the highway department. And in our discussions, I understand that you haven't been claiming this, and this is one of these programs that the state doesn't go out and announce in a billboard that, hey, we're going to give you taxes back. We want to give you money back. Occasionally they have, but in this program, I've been in Indiana almost 30 years now, and I've never seen. I stumbled across it actually, the opposite end of the state, up in Steuben County on the Michigan border. The county auditor brought it to my attention, and we looked at this about 4 or 5 years ago and said, this is a perfect fit to help organizations, local government, get this money back. Basically, that's the program. You have to pay the taxes, which you pay them at the pump through Premier One, or One Premier as it is now, and they collect the taxes and they pay that to the state. And then subsequently, not only in the highway department, I understand that the sheriff uses that pump, and the city of Hanover, they may have. So, but the primary goal is to look at everything in the county and try to look for those opportunities to get that refund. So, how we approach this, we get to go back 3 years. So the state allows you to retroactively claim. So on the front end, there's a bit of a windfall. We like a quarterly approach, because once we've gotten going with these particular programs, Our clients, keeping everybody in the loop. You don't want to forget about what's going on, how the system works. We like to have a well-oiled machine, if you will, to make sure that the documentation is flowing and especially the refunds coming back to our clients on a timely basis. And then the program going forward, we, again, like that quarterly process to make the claim and get it refunded back to the county, which usually takes about, lately it's been about 30 days turnaround. So, and then after we find out that you've been paid, we prepare an invoice for our services. How much does it cost? Again, unless you get paid, if you don't get paid, it costs you nothing. We know that this is going to work for our clients. And putting all that effort up front, we want to make sure that you will get paid, and our fee is computed at half of what you get up to for 3 months of the quarter, up to $1,500. So if you get $3,000, if you look at that last page, there's the breakdown right there. If you get $3,000 back in that quarter, we bill you after the fact 50%, and our fee would never be higher than $1,500 a month. Now, you get back $1,000 for that same period, our fee would be $500. Our goal is to make sure that you get, in an example, $9,000, and something more than the minimum. So the efforts that the highway department has to go through, which we try to minimize, but still they're the keepers of the information. And one of the things that we also like to pride, I've said this is an agreement. As close as we can get to a handshake, our contract is that. So if, let's just say if you wanted to move ahead and we enter into this partnership, we collect 3 years past and go into 2020, let's say halfway or we do the whole year, and you decide, Charles, I've seen the documentation, I know how this works, it's pretty straightforward, we're gonna take it over. We will prepare a letter to terminate the agreement and you folks can go on your own. So there's no penalties, there's no cancellation clause. I hate those kind of things personally, and that's why I want to put myself in your situation to make it as easy as possible for you, which also, it makes it easy for us too. So in a nutshell, that's what we're proposing tonight. And the good news, I should say the final, but the good news, is that because the highway fund pays the tax, Indiana State Board of Accounts says that's where the refund needs to go back. So this money isn't going back to the general fund, it's going to go back to the highway fund. Now, if there's some amount for the sheriff, which is the other big user, then that would go back to the general fund, and it's just kind of lost in the sauce. But the problem with the sheriff department is that their vehicles don't qualify, 99% of them. Because if you think of a dump truck, 23% of a dump truck fuel, based on the state computation, is used for driving the dump. So 23% of that gasoline or diesel fuel, it might even be a little dump truck, so if it's a pickup that has a dump, it still qualifies as a dump truck. A patrol car or one of the SUVs is not going to qualify because all of the energy in that fuel tank is using to turn the wheels and wear out the road. So the portion of energy that's not used to wear out the road, that gets refunded in an example of the dump truck. And then the other things, there's some, looking at it right there, you've got some percentages depending on what you had said. County highway departments typically, it's going to be the dump trucks. Anything else, now stationary equipment is going to be 100%. You're probably running clear diesel fuel in your off-road equipment. So the off-road equipment, the backhoes, graders, rollers, 53 cents per gallon is 100% refundable back to the highway fund. So, because basically a road grader is not wearing out the road, or a backhoe or something like that.
So even though out there we have a gas and a diesel tank.
Yeah.
And you've got different entities growing out of the.
Yeah.
It's not, in fact, they all go drop in the same fuel tank, and some of them qualify and some of them don't.
It's how you use the fuel. So
So
the
like
good, so
the sheriff's department wouldn't qualify because they don't have anything except.
they have
patrol
a
cars,
Ford Expedition and that, yeah, or a Chrysler,
Dakota,
Dodge,
whatever,
Dakota,
yeah.
whatever. Yeah, that, because all of that fuel in the tank is being utilized to drive the wheels. It doesn't drive a dump, it doesn't drive a bucket, it doesn't drive a post hole digger or anything like that. So, unlike a tractor. So if you have a tractor doing right of way mowing, that is off-road. But then again, I'm sorry. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So now the health department, the prosecutor, so a sedan, SUV, a van. You don't have a veterans van, do you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, the veteran,
Two of them.
interesting. The veterans vans qualify as public transportation. So the well, that's the trick too. So the county pays the fuel.
I think there's something there. I
Okay,
don't know
well,
that
it's
that
worth-
comes through claims.
We can check it.
Well,
Yeah,
that's you know, again, I go back to the highway department. We start there,
Right.
and then since they're also the keepers of the record, so what we may find out is we've seen this in other Scott County and Scottsburg, where we wind up going over to the city and introducing this program because it's the data is coming out of the same pumps. So it sounds as though the fuel tracked by vehicle you get a great system. So it's a key focus.
First, we have our own trash truck. We qualify.
Oh yeah, trash truck is
41%.
41%,
Sweet.
and it's probably diesel. So
So, I mean, it says undyed diesel or gasoline, so it's.
Yeah. Or gasoline.
So
Yeah.
it's-
Yeah. So if you have a pickup truck and something on the back of it is used, it's drawing fuel out of the gasoline tank to power a pump, maybe, or again, a bucket. So if it's a bucket, right, and you've got a cherry picker, and that equipment is utilizing the gasoline tank, that's allowable also.
So
But
if you have a pickup truck and you throw a snow blade on it or a
That's
salt
10%.
spreader, that
10%.
qualifies.
yeah, that's tricky. Yeah, see that's tricky because you have to. There's the art. So we're
That's interesting, we call it. the-
Yeah.
They call it it's
yeah. Well, yeah. It's how do you determine
Sure.
when that pickup truck goes from a pickup truck to a snowplow?
Mhm.
And this is one of the problems we have with I live in Carmel, and we do the street department, and that's, you have a dump truck and a pickup truck going down the street and clearing it out together. So you kind of have to, the systems just aren't sophisticated, so it's better to lose 10% for audit defense purposes. And that's the other thing that I'm
Sure.
sorry I did not mention. Everything that we do is about audit defense, because we don't want to get ourselves in a situation, but and
She doesn't either.
I don't either.
yeah, you don't either. And
payback.
yeah, yeah. So that's now that's not to say that we don't make mistakes or somehow a mistake occurs in it.
Sure.
But in the 5 years that we've been doing these things, we've been seeing at most it's like a $5,000 claim. There might be a $50 off or something, and usually it's how the state calculates the gallons, and we quite don't understand it. But they have very small amounts, they're slightly higher. I mean, like I said, $50, $100 difference. But, but we have yet to go back and rectify anything. If we did, even in the worst case scenario, that there was a $500, $1,000 overstatement, we made the mistake, or collectively we just looked at something the wrong way, put the comma in the wrong place, we can always apply that to the next quarter. So instead of paying it back, it's just the credit would be, the overpayment would be applied to the next period. So.
Ray Black, I'm on the county council,
Oh,
fiscal management of the county. And my question is, would the fire trucks, county fire trucks, would they qualify? They're off-road vehicles, along with emergency management, would those vehicles qualify?
You gotta look at them all separately. Fire trucks do qualify. Again, you have to look at that shared fuel tank. So that's kind of where I got stuck with. It's the fuel tank, whether it's gasoline or diesel, it's the energy's being used to generate the pumps. So that's not wearing out the road. So I think we're looking at 23% for a fire truck.
It's 48.
Oh, 48% for a fire truck. So even when they're driving around town, not on a run, it's just the vehicle and how that fuel's being used. It does not have to be on a run. 48% of that, 53 cents a gallon is refunded. Brush fighting equipment, that you kind of have to look. Those get tricky because sometimes there's a separate generator or gasoline engine that's powering the water pump on the tank down there. But yes, generally speaking, that might even be considered 100% because it's off-road. You said something else, so we got the fire truck. Oh,
The guy right behind you.
emergency management. Emergency management, the command center. So even for the sheriff, they had a mobile command center, and yes, that's eligible. A small percentage because again, it's shared fuel, but it's going to be really tiny. Again, it's the dump trucks that's going to pay the bill. Make it worth your effort, county's effort, or our effort together to go in.
But you can group them together, you're gonna get a big package, right?
Absolutely.
How about generator?
Well, it's yes, stationary
Like
equipment.
here.
Yes.
That runs
Yeah,
jail.
the jail. Yeah. So if so, the sheriff buys. You've got one contract for fuel.
Does the generator get the fuel from the same guys?
The
They're
courthouse
Yeah,
jail generator,
I-
diesel fuel.
Dwayne probably picks that up in a can if he picks that up and brings it down for the generator. So that one would be a little bit harder to actually measure and know what actually went into the generator and what went into a lawnmower somewhere, hypothetically.
Well, it's going to be easy because you're probably not putting diesel fuel in the lawnmower.
That's true.
And putting diesel. I'm not trying to be smart out here, but you're putting diesel fuel in the tank for the courthouse jail generator, and if you have a good provider, they might put in what's known as dyed diesel fuel. Are you all familiar with dyed diesel fuel? For those who aren't, you don't pay excise road taxes on dyed diesel fuel. So Farmer Brown, he puts dyed diesel fuel in his tractor, and he doesn't pay a road tax on it. But the clear diesel fuel that you folks are using, and that could be, if they're putting clear diesel fuel in the generator, you're paying tax on it. You should just avoid it, putting in dyed diesel fuel. I get you? Okay. So yeah, those are exactly the things we look for. But again, those are great questions. That's not going to pay the bill. I mean, I don't know how much you use your generator. You're going to use once a month. You're going to use 10 gallons.
Once a week on
Every
Wednesday.
Thursday.
Or
Every Thursday.
either Wednesday or Thursday, one of them at lunch.
It kicks in, and then so you use
Routines itself.
5 gallons, and
So it probably wouldn't be astronomical like
no,
the dump
again,
trucks and
that's
graders and stuff. So
Yep, yep.
probably
So
more
what's
headache
a
than
normal quarterly refund for it?
There is nothing normal.
Nothing
Um,
normal. Okay, what's the
in my-
range?
Well, here, I'll give you an example. And I don't, in my arsenal, I do have highway miles by county, or the road. Yeah, you've seen it. You've probably seen that spreadsheet. And in my county, Hamilton County, most of the roads are city maintained. The county does not have that much mileage. And when we did this for Hamilton County, we're really on the fence. You would think that Hamilton County, we've got all this equipment, and it's a very large county, but our jurisdiction for road maintenance is fairly small, and we're not hitting 3,000 on that. Now, we went a little further north, and recently we signed up St. Joseph County in South Bend, and I think don't quote me, but I think it's like $6,000 a quarter we're getting back. We're getting far in excess of our fee, which is terrific. And then one of the early ones, Steuben County, the county seat is Angola. I think we're getting maybe $500 a quarter on it, but they keep sending. It's a good system. They send us the information. It works like clockwork. They're happy to not do it. Any questions? I should also say that the audit defense, we would answer those, and I'll get to that second part of the paperwork here too, the power of attorney. So there is no, because everyone's different and the state operates differently. One of the things I learned early on is that you don't have belly blades. And that up north in Steuben County, they have a blade on the bottom of the dump truck that they can do road grading. They drop that blade down, and didn't know this before, but once you get it enough further south, in Indiana, we just don't, the highway departments don't use that piece of equipment. So, again, it depends how you use it, where your garage is centrally located, if there's equipment off-site, remote, I should say, not off-site, remote. So it's a shot in the dark. We're confident that this is going to be in Jefferson County, it'll be a profitable project for all of us. But what that number is going to be, the good news is that you'll find out before us, because you'll get paid before we get paid. And then the last part of that too is that the power of attorney, which is kind of a unique thing, this is the only project that we ask for power of attorney, and it's very limited for specifically for the excise fuel tax and a date range. So what would happen is that if the Indiana Department of Revenue has a question about how that claim was prepared, it would come directly to us. Now, it's not to say that sometimes it might go to the county, it might go to the auditor's office, might go to the administrator at the highway department, but then we should get that information. And then rectify that, answer their questions. Usually it's just a simple thing. Can't read the file, can't read, something didn't make sense. Or there might be a discrepancy in what we came up with what they're coming up. So, and again, that falls again into the umbrella of the Indiana State Board of Accounts. In your case, is going to be looking, this is part of that big picture too. So if there's any questions from SBOA, there's no limitation or fee for us answering those questions on your behalf. So, and part of that is twofold. We're really hopeful, and the system that you have in place is robust. It has audit defense, there's internal control there, and we've been doing this for 5 years now. We know what needs to be done, and we have really a great working relationship with Department of Revenue.
Even if you let their secret out of the back.
Yeah, that's right.
So he done his homework too.
Tried to.
you have any idea, like based on usage, just
I have,
wild ballpark?
I have no, sometimes I can, and I get in trouble with this
I
back
mean,
at
like
the
if we
office.
spend, say, just $50,000 a year for diesel.
Dollars on, it's gallons. And
Well,
I
I
could
mean,
kind of,
we look
yeah,
at
see,
it
because
in
it's
gallons.
all driven by gallons. I haven't seen your fuel reports. So sometimes I can look at a fuel, and generally that's, I don't want to oversimplify it, but I'm not going to mislead you either. If you look at, you can look at the fuel report, you can see for the month of December, here's all the dump trucks. You had 1,000 gallons of clear diesel fuel times 53 cents. Yep. There's your refund right there. So that's, again, I'm oversimplifying,
Right.
but I could kind of say, I could say, I looked at December, we looked at the gallons, and how you're using diesel fuel at the highway department, and this is a minimum of what we're seeing for that month, little snapshot, if you will. But no way I can, that's crystal ball stuff.
Then we gotta go back for a year.
Well, yeah, and fortunately, if the data's there through Premier and your other, you were using a different provider, and I understand. Yeah, you've been using the fobs for 5 years, tracking it, so as long as the data exists, we can go back. The worst case scenario is, and this is, the worst case scenario is, for whatever reason, maybe and we've seen this on occasion, some staff members aren't really putting in the numbers into the pump as they should, and you can't distinguish between a dump truck or a tractor. Then that doesn't do us any good. Then we got to start working with the highway department and the staff and educate them, train them to say, here's your system, you need to start putting in that code more diligently.
Have we had Bob's that long?
It's close to it, Bob.
Close to it, isn't it?
I know it was within about the first year of me taking over. This was my
I'd
6th
say
year.
we probably got 3 years of data on the Bob's, just to make it
Sure,
a
yeah,
no-brainer.
yes, yes. And in that process, the no-brainer part is that as much as you want to see of what we're doing, we will provide that to you. So we're not going to hide anything. There's no shell game. Yeah. No, you can see the results. People are happy to have us make money for them. And hopefully the most difficult part of that is, getting the county attorney to sign off on the agreement and then signing our agreement. And we're flexible on that too, so if the county attorney needed a particular format that this does not conform to, we're happy to work with that as long as we get paid, I guess is really the essential thing.
You basically have a ceiling on your work cap.
That's right, you'll never pay,
So that we got, we just say $4,000 out.
Yeah.
And she gets 15 out of it.
we only get 50, yeah. Half up to $3,000, anything above the $3,000 is all the counties, yeah.
It's on the cake for us.
That's right, yeah, that's what we want.
Once if we do nothing, you're gonna get.
Oh, that's right, we're not, yeah, we're not. In addition to this, we've been, nearly 20 years, Malcon's been in business. Most of our, it wasn't until about 5 years ago, 100% of our work was the Title 4D program, the prosecutor, clerk, courts, and the auditor's office on cost reimbursement on it. It's still a big part of our business. It's highly competitive, which is good for you folks, and we would love to work with you on that, but that's a different discussion. We want to prove our worth with this program, make money for you, make it easy for you, and go from there.
We need to,
Investigate it.
Yeah.
Oh, and let me add to that.
it's always only good to let no else.
There's no, do The only thing you risk is every quarter you go forward, you lose the furthest one out. And that's, and again, if you look at that, that's the lowest tax rates. So you're losing the lowest refund off of that from Department of Revenue. Does that make sense? Okay. So, yeah, so if we wait too long, we're gonna miss out 3 years back.
I mean, we're-
But
we're
you
talking
pick up
about
on it,
wait
yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Not so,
And you're welcome to call anybody on that list. Well, if you need a contact for any of those, nearby, I think we've got Henry and Ripley, Dearborn County. I guess that's probably closest. And
Jennings is not so.
not Ripley. I'm sorry, Ripley. Not, yeah, we tried. That's right. We had some issues there.
county attorneys.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Yes.
Thanks for your
Thank you, commissioners. Appreciate it.
video, email.
Wow, we got to try something different since.
Got our attention.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're try to do something different. This is different and try a different approach and reaching out to you, especially in quarantine. If in the 2 weeks, I think the 27th, that would be. The 20th? 20th.
I mean, even if you, if we have questions, we'll reach out to you.
Yeah.
If you can, great. You wouldn't have to. If we're going to move forward, we can just prove it.
It was always fun to stay overnight at Cliff T.
Okay, well, that's okay as well.
Innkeeper's tax, we wanna. But you don't get that, that's,
Well, we do.
Yeah, we do.
Dude,
you get?
We do that.
Well, not from the state.
Oh, not across the state.
Well,
We'll have to get you another.
all right, well, thank you, appreciate your time, and give me a shout out if you have any questions.
Thanks.
And if you need me to come back, I'd be happy to come back. All right?
Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, guys.
All right.
How are all of you?
All right.
Good. I just brought, I hope, did Sarah good? Sarah made you a copy, because I didn't, it doesn't copy real well, so. As you guys know, you've replaced the windows at the health department. Building's 31 years old. We replaced the windows on the north side. We ordered them back in May, but they just came in and got replaced the week of Thanksgiving. So, but the rest of the windows totally need to be replaced also. Bobby was up there a few weeks ago. We were on the other side of the building poking around and finger went right through it. So there's 18 windows remaining that need to be replaced. There's more buildings more windows on the south side than there is the north side, and then plus the 2 windows in the building. So there's 18 windows left to be replaced. Unfortunately, they did go up a little bit, about $300 a piece since we ordered the ones last May. So,
Longer time to get them.
right.
PVCs went up, so that's.
But I have to say, that if you haven't been up there, the windows on the north side of the building, on the parking lot side, they look amazing. They make the building look so much better.
Of course, that arch.
That arch is what
so
kills us.
astronomical
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. So, the total quote for the remaining 18 windows with installation and everything is $64,329.48. You need a copy of this, Heather, or did you get one?
I didn't, but it's okay.
Okay. And I mean, this is the same,
Yep.
same company, and I had gotten the bid the first time, and this company was by far the cheapest.
The paint's over some of them. It's-
Yeah, I mean, they're
it's-
bad.
Yeah, it's 31 years, 32
Yeah.
years old. It's served a purpose. Maintenance is not that much on that building till.
No, I mean, we have a
it's fairly
custodian and
decent
that's
shape.
it, but yeah. A lot of people are surprised when they come in and actually realize the building's 71 years old.
Yeah. It's- for the amount of use and abuse it gets.
Especially the last 2 years, or the last year.
I would make the recommendation to try and
Right.
do it if we can find
Maybe from the courthouse or something. I think we paid the others from the courthouse.
ask the council back or something. It's the cost of doing business.
It's over 32 years.
Yeah.
1991, so.
So, you want me to-
Maybe 2 roofs, so we really got to buy pretty.
yeah, and the last time the roof was replaced was when the hurricane came through,
7 or 8.
so, 08.
Pretty close to
Yeah.
this.
So, you'll just let me know then after council meeting next week? All right, perfect. You guys have any other questions or anything? Nope. All right, all right, thank you,
Yes.
guys, have a good evening.
You too, Tammy, be careful.
Okay,
Like Troy says, watch the other guy.
yeah, yeah.
The roads are scary.
Bobby's guys been out there taking care of the roads, so I feel pretty confident I'll be all right.
He'll be out there for a little while.
Alright, next on the agenda, we had a contract from, or a letter of engagement from Stiefel Financial with Andrew Lannon, and we had our attorney look at it, and he said it looked okay. So that would allow for Andrew to look over the lost revenue calculations to see what the county could claim from the American Rescue Plan funds for from that we could use that or claim as lost revenue. So based on our previous experience with Andrew, that was one reason why we went with Andrew. That was a good deal. Yeah. I've looked at it. So it looked pretty nice. And the funds will come out of the ARP funds as well. So it's outside of that. And it's the amount of $15,000 plus there's a agreement to this.
Make a motion to go with the Stifle,
Sure.
Stifle or whatever, to assist the county in finding what we have basically able to apply for coming to us from lost revenue.
Eligible uses for that.
A second.
All those in favor, signify by aye. Next on the agenda is independent contractor agreements. There's supposed to be another one, but I only have one right now. It's for Elaine Peters, who has been cleaning the courthouse, of course, specifically the courthouse and other areas for the past, getting the, we started in the summer of 20.
Yeah, it started in 20, all of 21, and now.
Quite a lot of good things about keep busy and keep things closed. So Sarah had talk about this one too. Then it's set up, so.
Yeah, she's, does a
Yeah.
wonderful job, one of us all, she's a whole, she's doing something.
Yeah, I make a motion, I think with the ongoing COVID, we still gotta keep.
Yeah.
We still gotta keep things sanitary. She's doing a good job with that, so I
Yeah.
make a motion.
South Side, Ron's motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye. Next on the agenda is IT services contract. So we've had some IT issues over the years, and we've reached out to some firms for, I don't know if we haven't heard back from Pat on this, we may have to wait to approve this one, but let people know we're entertaining IT support contract for the coming year. So there would, that would include a help desk, support, administration, maintenance, disaster recovery, talk about that if you need to. Documentation and planning, vendor management, and managed network security services. It's 173 workstations at the county, and they would manage those, manage antivirus on those, and work on firewall as well.
We're gonna have a body on site here,
Well,
boots on the ground.
right, I think as right now, the current IT assistant would be that person. So, I'd like to hear back from Pat on making sure it's okay with this, a professional services contract that we can give this around. So, something we need to do.
Yes, we need.
Yeah, and
We can go ahead and approve it
continue
and
to
and see if that, seeing no hiccups or there's changes to be made in the agreement contract. We need desperately need.
We need to talk to the council too, the cost, just to make sure that we wait 2 weeks to get all the things. Yeah, on the next meeting, so. Yeah, it's definitely something we need to do. I mean, it's not, that we're just trying to find a place where these funds can be taken from so we can do this, 'cause,
So take too much.
yeah. Yeah. I know she sent it to him, I just hadn't seen his response yet to see, or it may have come later. She's got appointments on items. So we will, we'll look at that, get that taken care of, so our next meeting, this Wednesday. There's a couple out there. I don't know specifically. Who was,
We need a couple for cemetery since a lot of people.
yeah.
There's a max order for sure for cemeteries.
Ready grant coming in, I think we've had this, Ready grant come through, you know, we've had this regional development board out there that we might wanna actually move forward on that now that there's gonna be some funds out there that really can get some Yeah, I think it was on the advisory board. We had some people that, I don't know, because there was no funding and people were kind of like, what's the use, so let's not, so I don't think much happened.
There should be now.
You're right, right. And I kind of had thought that the funding was really, I mean, I think it is earmarked for certain activities, but it sounds like there's still opportunity for other, so,
Projects.
yeah. And I know that we've talked about, we had one in there for redevelopment or development, however you want to look at it, the airfield at JPG. So I have, begun some discussions with folks. I think we need to go and have a meeting with Mr. Ford and see, get that kind of, just to make sure there's interest there. But there's some opportunities for, either a maintenance hub or a cargo carrier or something with that size. Be a lot of benefit there. And we talked about things kind of down towards the River Ridge, that part of the county. Is there something we can do there? So we can do some studies and do as well. At least find out if it's worth pursuing or not. Okay, so we'll get those next time. Bobby?
I've got a lot, but I've tried to condense it so we won't be here all night. I've missed the last few meetings. Different arrangements, and first I just want to say thank you guys for your support during the loss of our loved ones with our families. I know those were tough times, and we've got a lot of people in our community that are going through that right now, and our deepest condolences with each and every one. We're not completely out of the woods yet with some of our employees, but we are on the mend, we hope. We did have one retired. I've got one that'll be starting here next week, so we'll be getting some of those filled. We've been going through some of ours and doing a few interviews with those. Probably the first thing everybody's going to want to hear about, certainly the snow removal. We've had crews out since the snow hit there. About the flurries and dusting started about 11 or 12. And by 1, it was starting to get a few slick spots, but dealing with those and trying to get everything before everybody gets off of the shift work is about impossible. So we'll be running things till at least 10 o'clock and probably keep a few that are on calls definitely all night. So we'll start up early in the morning because the school's already called to see what they think, what our opinion is. I usually just kind of about, it's slick. Try to,
I think it's supposed to stop though, right?
Yeah, it's been slack.
So I mean, at least won't be you're out there doing stuff and then it's still coming down. So.
Hopefully, I noticed even the Rhine and stuff on some of the state roads and the city streets. I mean, it helps, but it's still, when the temperatures are in the teens, it's not quite as effective. But as soon as we get just a little bit more sunshine, Mother Nature will help us as much as anything. Was working on some paving bids. Those will be getting advertised here in the next couple of weeks, and we'll actually have that bid opening coming up in about a month. If everything kind of goes on schedule. All that has to be finalized, and the stuff for the community crossing grant, they have to have the contract in hand to them by March the 3rd. And I know going through the DocuSign, that has really sped up that process of getting those documents taken care of. So that was a big step forward, and a big kudos to NDOT for getting that done and keeping that rolling right on. We will have the bid openings for the Doe Run project will be at our next meeting. I know I've had a few phone calls from some contractors, so there is certainly some interest there. So hopefully we get some very favorable bids. Like everything else, I mean, all the costs are escalating, so hopefully that kind of slows down just a little bit. But I know a lot of those crews are also very busy, and some of them are looking for some additional work. So hopefully that plays out into our favor. We did announce, I think that was close to the last commissioner meeting when we discovered, I think it was actually after our last commissioner meeting, that we discovered the road closure in a small structure that was required emergency road closures. When you crawl underneath things and see beams quite that bad, it's kind of disturbing. Very lucky that things didn't fall through, but luckily it's on a low traveled road and there wasn't a lot of heavy equipment on it. The other thing that I definitely need to make sure that I get done, I have some wording done correctly. We were awarded, and I think it's an EWP, I may have my initials wrong, but it's through NRCS for the Wolf Run project, which is our National Resources Center. They're going to fund that project that we were looking at for the soil nails that are near the bridge there, Bobby Owens.
Bobby Owens right there where the water line, phone cable, and pole is almost.
So we do have some funding on that. The only thing that I'm lacking to be able for them to draw up our contract, I told them to wait until after this meeting so I knew for sure who the president was going to be or who you guys wanted to be the signing person for the commissioners to put somebody's name on that line. I see Dave looking at me.
Well,
You might stay there by default, Dave. So I might have been all right. Outside of that, that's all I got. So just let me know whose name to put on the contract. So I got one person to sign it, and I'm good.
We'll let you know.
All right. Just let me know by Monday. Okay.
It's 4.
As long as I've got it in
Ship,
it, as long as I've got it in a public meeting, who's signing, I'm good.
South Bend might be reluctant.
But that's all I have. And I did keep you guys aware of some of our customer complaints that we was trying to get kind of settled and resolved and keep those rolling. But that one did calm down, so that was very good.
Hurry up and get that covered.
Yeah, I got a few. We got
Yeah.
a few. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Either last or the meeting before last in December, we talked about one of the plans that was due for renewal or review. And that was the continuity of operations plan. I think I gave you guys each a copy of that. I don't know whether you had any questions, if you're prepared to sign off on it or whatever.
Are you prepared to sign up on it?
Sure.
Okay. I think we covered.
And then the other,
Because you know far more about it than
well,
me.
and I mean, there's a lot of stuff there, so I mean, but it's nothing new. It's just a revision of
Sure.
an existing plan, so it's not like we're reinventing the wheel or anything. We're not doing anything new there. The other thing that I actually mentioned at that same meeting was that we were gonna put a debris management plan together, which we have never. We've had one in draft 2 different occasions, but it's never been promulgated by the commissioners. Typically, in a disaster situation, debris removal is the most expensive part of the entire disaster recovery process, as you can well imagine. So I worked really hard to get that and to get another draft status and another version of that. But in talking with some colleagues, there is a company that I would like to talk to before I get that to you guys that specializes in the management of that for us and would actually activate or operate that plan on our behalf. Obviously for a fee, but it's my understanding that it's a kind of a $0 retainer, with just an agreement that it's understood that if we were to activate the plan, they would be called and then they would, bill based on amounts. But I need to talk to them first, but we would still have the option, or my advice would be we would still have the option either to activate them or that plan or not. So whereas we did the dumpsters and just the straight removal from Hanover Beach during the last river flood, we could still do that if that was our easiest, quickest, shortest, cheapest route. If it was something that involved a larger area, half of the county as an example, that probably would not be the way you would want to choose to go. So, but I don't think just having that plan without having a company such as them on retainer, I don't think that plan would do us any good. So I'm not as close to being done with that as I thought. So I need a little more time with that. I'm gonna work with those folks and we're gonna try and get that squared away. And I'll have more for you at a later date. But I didn't want you thinking that was still coming because right now it's not still coming. I'm gonna have the courthouse, it's up for the courthouse emergency plan that we did in response to the pole station installs. That's an annual review and it's coming this month, so I should have that for you at the next meeting or two. But other than that, we're caught up on all of those. So. Good. Any other questions or anything else for me?
Your golf cart working so.
Yeah, as long as you don't go too steep for it.
Well,
Yeah, it's got some good sized tread on it. The ATV works real well. So, yeah.
One to the car house.
Yeah, one, yeah, out the ridge, it does really well. So. The other would do okay as long as you're. Anything else? Make sure.
The notification system seems to be working very well.
Good, good.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, no, thank you all. It's much more reliable and a lot more robust than what we've had in the past. I'm glad it's working out the way it is. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I would ask the audience radio. You're the only one. The other guys are. Well, I usually ask
You
you
want
what
me to
they.
make something up? I can.
Okay.
Something controversial?
We got enough of those, so we don't need it.
I volunteer.
Don't change it.
Anything for you, Dave.
Oh.
It's good to see you out and about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good to see you.
So, anybody else? You guys have anything? What, 8 in a row?
9.
9. Pittsburgh's won 9 games in a row in hockey. That's
Play the Flyers tonight, so.
they lost. Anyway, do you have anything?
January 20th is coming up. Board member, we're going to have a treatment training meeting at the Jefferson County Public Safety Center on Green Road at 4, and commissioner meeting following at 5, right there. Both meetings will be there, so that's kind of new year now, kind of like regrouping just a little bit, getting ready. Abigail, of course, you know, from the Attorney General's office, she's a little more active, so that's kind of exciting. Chris Garton, our senator, he's well behind us. He won't be able to be here, I believe, every session.
But is he still on?
Well, that's right.
I think when they did the redistricting, they got Chip Perfect from the East.
Zach Payne is still on.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, that is one thing that we found out with this ARP funds, that there is some, if I don't know how we get it, but for mental health treatment, there are some, we are able to use. Is it a study? Is it, you know, is it something that, you know, would it be worth talking to Clark and Scott County or any other counties that around to see if a regional facility would be of interest to them, because then you kind of sharing
Yeah, the gentleman from the state last year, about what was it, like September, October, told us he wouldn't know any more about the building out here at State Hospital until this year, so hoping to get back with them too.
So
Yeah, we still have that.
so we all could have a facility already.
We could have
Is that an existing building on, or
Yeah.
one of the old wards or
some of
something?
the old ones.
So is it one they've been in, or is it one that they've abandoned?
Oh, yeah, he didn't answer that.
And we looked at those abandoned ones, and they was,
That could be better off.
they got a bulldozer.
I didn't get that part.
And one of them did go down.
Yeah.
I know they got out, whatever, that Honey, that's the big one that you come into, the
Kent Hall.
Kent Hall is. It's like they're getting ready for destruction, I think. I don't know, but they got stuff kind of, you know,
Tear it down.
right,
Really.
yeah, so I don't,
That's what people
you know.
I was telling Ron in our health department, I found out that there is filters you can put on the air handlers. And look at one, and it was strictly like mold and bacteria and stuff like that. Then there's another one, I believe it's called atomizer, and it kills like 99% of airborne viruses, all of that. So I'd kind of like to check into that and see what that costs. And then, you know, there's so much traffic and activity, and then maybe even think of it down here with all the, especially with the COVID and Omicron and all that stuff going on, it might be a good thing to pursue. So we
Yeah,
have to look
kind
into
of
that.
test it and see what
I
we
know they're like, the commercial ones are like $4,500 a piece, so it's not like we're talking $50,000. So I'll check into that and have something for next meeting. So I think it's about all.
So, I mentioned, I met with a couple gentlemen from Burke Engineering on, they do airport. One does planning for airports and one does construction on airports. So the guy that's done some planning, I said, we just got the email from him yesterday, I think, or the day before. But I'll send that to you guys, and like I said, I thought we'd reach out to Mr. Ford and just kind of, I don't know, we've got at least some idea what we'd like to look at, and so rather than just saying, we'd like to develop the airport, but have some things that we think that would be, one, useful for it, and then some of the other, kind of supporting utilities that would be needed to assist in that. So I'll keep you guys up to date on that, planning, and we can get a little more, concrete on, from Mr. Ford. Okay with that?
I mentioned that to him before even all this went out, and he seemed receptive to it. So,
So we'll,
touch base with
mm-hmm.
him. Get rolling.
Yeah, and then another, one of the contacts that I made at the commissioner conference on stormwater management standards. He's gonna come down on the 21st during the day. We're just gonna see what we might need to do. So I'll let you know. I've got Eric to come to that meeting just so we can talk about how we can look at some of the areas in the county, and some of it is just getting things set up so we can start looking at things out in the county where we have these issues with stormwater management and what's it? Regulated drains is a word that comes up when we talk about being able to get off the road and take care of creeks that are out or drainage ditches that are out of control. But in the process, there's some things that we have to set up. So rather than now, where you can't really get out of the right of way to do it because of if you set up what I know is you set up a regulated drain, you have some legal right to take care of those. So I'll let you know what I find out. But
All right, yeah, that might be a different funding mechanism also.
yes, oh yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's outside that.
I knew you'd be right on top of it.
Well, I mean, it's still so new. I know when we were up there talking to him, do you have a drainage board? I'm like, no. Like, yeah, you do. It's the commissioners if you don't. And I'm like, well, I don't think we want the drainage board, so we're going to look to see what we can do there. So we'll start kind of investigating that and see what we can.
That mean we override DOW.
No. Down or you want to walk the park.
State Board of Accounts is here doing our 2019 and 2020 audit. So I'll be able to update our information where we purchase bonds. We kind of felt like that was eventually coming down the pipeline. So Jeff Dossett, which is our consulting firm that does all of our 4D reimbursements, he did mention to me that we have not ever had a land and building inventory professionally taken and turned in for our 4D claims. So right now we are using one that he said is older and should probably be updated at some time. So I'm going to get more information about that, and he said that they're.
And I know that when we look at insurance,
So that's what he said. He said normally when you get this, it helps your insurance as well, because it actually measures your square footage of everything, as where they're just kind of doing a guesstimate type. So it could help in other areas as well.
I know there's always, at least building and land is on
Rick did that,
the insurance, but
Yeah,
because he went over everything. I mean, we found vehicles and stuff. Yeah.
right. So I don't know. I
Do you
will
have a copy?
get more information about that.
do you have a copy of
Yes,
it? Okay, so you have the,
we have that.
okay, so you have that, right, okay.
So I'll get more information about that and
I
present it
just
to you guys
checked with
later.
him. I know he was very thorough on
Right.
everything, buildings, replacement costs and all that. So
I will check with
touch
them
base
as
with
well.
him and see if not.
And that's all I have.
I mean, just like Bobby does a asset management plan. I mean, we probably need, we need one for the county where we're
Right.
looking at, buildings that need to be maintained and things we need to do. I don't know about the land, but the buildings, and he does it for his vehicle, so I don't know if he calls it, do you call it an asset management plan?
Depends on which piece of vehicle I'm talking about, whether it's
Okay,
asset
that's
or
all
liability.
Expensive repair, isn't it?
So, but you have
But
something,
yes.
you have it, you may not call it that, but that's something I think about.
I think it will help with the indirect expenses that he, even a portion of our HR salary and a portion of the electrical used in this office is a portion that gets reimbursed to us for her tie to 40. So
Interesting.
yeah, he has it down to like every phone, every computer. So
I second that. All those in favor, signify by aye. Thank you for coming.